UK, W4.
Good morning. CQ calling. CQ. The Old Friends Net. The Old Friends AM Net, which meets here every Tuesday and Thursday, which is today at 8 o'clock in the morning. And we are here to exchange information, ideas, comments, and so forth, especially about vintage equipment and other wonderful topics. We also meet on Sundays at 5 p.m. At 5 p.m. I wonder when the time's going to change, if it is. So let's see. We'll start a list here and pass it around. Those wishing to check in, please call N4LQ.
Steve, WA4LLR.
Okay.
Between the shingles and where the wood touches the shingles. And it's more than half a century old. So the label, it's a half, so I guess it's a gallon.
Lots of activity coming through on this Drake 2A. And I've got the bandwidth opened to 4.8 or whatever. So I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. Here's what we got so far. WA4LLR, WB4ARK, KN4R, the K4GDN, W4MEC, and N4IYQ. Do we have any more check-ins? All right, well, I guess that's it for this morning. But let's see, it's 48 degrees here in Shelby, North Carolina. Kind of gloomy looking outside, but I think the rain may have left us for the time being. And I don't know how much rain we got. I mentioned the other day that I had 3 inches, but that was from viewing it at about 20 feet away through a screen window. So actually it was 2 inches, so I made a mistake. So now it's probably up to 3 inches because it rained all day yesterday, and the ground is starting to look pretty good. I think maybe the grass will start coming up now. I'm running the AF68 this morning, the Elmac, and the Drake 2A. So let's see down the list real quick. LLR, ARK, 4R, GDN, MEC, and IYQ. So I'll wait one more time, see if there's any more check-ins. Amazing. Okay, Dave, it's yours. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
All right, Steve, fine business. N4LQ. And the old friends, WA4LLR. Good morning to everybody. We've got 39 degrees, almost completely cloudy, but an absolutely gorgeous sunrise out there. The sky looks like it's on fire back in the east. In the last 2 days, we've had 2.5 inches of rain, and we needed it, and I'm thankful for it. But now I'm ready for it to start sunshining again. Anyway, let's see here what all's going on. Running to Babcock this morning and receiving on the RME 69. not too much more than that. You're right, the band is quite busy. The earlier net, man, there was a whole lot of stuff around us and beneath us. So it's a active morning on 80 meters. Buddy, here it comes. You're sounding good this morning. WB4ARK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK. Okay, Dave. Kind of jumped in there a little bit early. Hope I didn't step on your toes. Weather here, temperature was 48 right now, and we had 0.64 inches of rain yesterday, added to the 1 point something or other, so that makes it 2 inches, or a little bit more than 2 inches. We only had 1 something yesterday. So anyhow, I think we've got our limit, so now it can turn off for a bit. We're running the 4400 again, and the weather conditions here are totally overcast. It was pretty dark this morning. I think if we go much longer at this point, we're going to be transmitting in the dark. We need to get into daylight saving time, which comes up this weekend. So anyhow, that's it for me for right now. So over to KN4R, WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy, very good. WB4ARK in the group. KN4R, good morning to all. And buddy, thanks for putting on your rock crushing signal. That may help to clear the frequency a little bit. But everybody's sounding really good this morning. Same temperature here, same 100% overcast. Everything's really damp, but we'll see how it goes today. But hey, I like having indoor Hamfest days. And okay, on the beautiful sunrise days, sounds good. Maybe we'll have one tomorrow. But I'm on the GRC9 and running the little amplifier, 60 watts or so. Over to you, George. K4GDN in the group, KN4R.
Everybody, but there sure is a whole lot of sight there. It's still on broad. We're running the Raging Boot this morning. Burned up. We're shooting on an H2145X. Speaking of which, I need a 6-8 knot with a 1-inch minimum long shaft. This is sensitivity or RF gauge control of the 145X. Hardwired wide open, but hard to find long shaft, kind of hard. It's a standard quarter-inch diameter hole you got to put it through. Anyway, it's just a standard fault. You want it, got to have at least 1-inch long shaft. Anybody finding what I traditionally think is good enough is the lunch next Tuesday. I do plan to be there, maybe about 2
Okay, Charlie, go ahead.
Oh, okay. K4GDN in the group, W4MC. I don't know what George is running today, but he's basically unreadable here. I could hear him in there, but I couldn't understand. Anyway, did I say this is W4MC? Yeah, I did that. Okay. Good morning, fellas. It's actually a beautiful morning here. I went out and took a gander, and I saw a couple of tiny little puffball clouds off to the east, but severe clear everywhere else. And I looked at the rain gauge, which I forgot to empty on Tuesday's net, where I reported 3.5, and I went out this morning, and it's off the scale at 5.5. So we got the storm total is 5.5 inches of rain. So that's the story on that. And we're in the house today, running the Heathkit tribes, and decided not to be out in the garage where it's a little chillier. I got my three thermometers. I've got one that says 30. That's the one that hooks to my that's part of my heat pump, and my other two say 38 and 39. So we're going to go with 38.5 degrees here. A little chilly this morning, but we're okay. Let's see, down to Chuck N4IYQ, W4MEC.
Okay, W4MEC and the group, N4IYQ. Well, good morning all the way around. It's 44 degrees and light drizzle over here in Telford this morning. We've had, I looked on, not the weather station, but the weather app. It says we've had 3 tenths in the last 24 hours. Rain's supposed to clear out of here, and it's supposed to be quite breezy today. I think the high is only going to be like 49, and they're showing some winds this evening, 18, 20, 25 gusts. So it's going to be quite breezy. We're on the AF68 this morning, running in low power, and looks like about 60 or 70 watts carrier running the AF68 amp. Didn't fire up the tube amp, so we're running in a low power position. And looking forward to getting things packed up and ready to head to Lawrenceville in the morning. Going to be brisk down there, 39 degrees Saturday, but the weather's looking great for tomorrow and Saturday, so hopefully we'll have a good turnout. Hope to see John VVC and John KN4R down there, and hopefully have a good boneyard. It normally is if the weather's good. So that's about it from Telford. N4LQ and N4IYQ.
All right, Chuck, N4IYQ, it's N4LQ. Real good. Do we have any pins to the old friends net? Call now. I didn't hear anything. Yeah, I think, Chuck, you said you're running 60 watts barefoot with an AF68. That is, I think that's impossible, but maybe you figured out something else. I don't know. I get about 38, maybe 40 on a. If everything was new and working really super good, I might get 40 watts out of one carrier, that is. But I've got a switch on my power supply that I can kick in a filter choke, and it's filtered better. There's less hum that way, but it also cuts the voltage down, so I end up with about 18 to 20 watts or so output, and it's still too much for the amplifier. So I've got a 3 dB attenuator in series with the AL82, so it's right at 250 watts carrier right now. And anyway, you sound really good there, Chuck. And of course, Dave on that hi-fi Babcock always sounds good. And Buddy, you sound real good here, real strong. And Brian's real good. George, weak, extremely weak. I just barely could hear that you were in there. And I did catch that you're running a Ranger 2 barefoot to a vertical. I thought, man, that reminds me the other day, I was, somebody answered a CQ that I put out on CW, and he was over, below Raleigh somewhere, not that far away, but he was about S2 or so, which was fairly weak. And he gave me a 5.9 plus or something, and I said, you're about 5 by 4. And he said, well, I'm running 250 milliwatts. So he is a QRPP. They use 2 P's for that kind of power, 250 milliwatts. And his rig was a Elcraft K3. So he had the power throttled back to what it indicated of 0.1 watts. And he said it's actually 250 milliwatts. And I said, well, I'd appreciate a little more power because I'm having trouble. So he cranked it all the way up to 500 milliwatts. And I was able to copy him okay. But apparently he spent his entire ham career trying to be QRP and see who he can agitate with that low power. I tell you what, it takes all kinds, I guess. So, let's see here if we had anything else. The tribes at Charlie's house and this Apache, I guess the Apache Mohawk. Anybody remember the Ventures song about the Apache, or called Apache? You could hear the sound of arrows flying by. That was back when they had a lot of those musical guitar #1 hits. And 5.5 inches of rain is just crazy. Hendersonville gets all the weather, I believe. So let me check one more time, see if there's any more check-ins. Okay, well, we've been having some fun on 160, but the attendance is down. Appreciate it if you guys could fire something up and come down there and join us sometime. Charlie and I yacked for some time last night until I was just wore out. I don't know, it's been a long day or something. So anyhow, back to you, Dave, WA4L, LR, N4LQ.
Yeah, I need to try to get in there a little more often on 160, but I'm telling you, my nights are so booked. It's hard to find an open one. That I'm not exhausted. Let's see. AF68 sounds really good, Steve, as always. Thanks for the report on the Babcock. Buddy, that 4400 rig is about the strongest thing on the band this morning. Brian, the GRC9 is punching through in good order with your 60 watts. And George, if you're hearing me, when it's absolutely deathly still, quiet here, I can tell a word or two that you're saying. But if any QRM or QRN comes in there, you're gone. So the vertical is just not getting it done this morning out this far. Charlie, the TX1's doing a great job. It sounds like you are you're in the rainforest. Joe, good morning to you. Your AF68 is blasting. I believe you said you were running some kind of an amp with it. Maybe I misunderstood. But yeah, I'm running the SB220 with the Babcock. Let's see what else is going on. Just been trying to stay dry and warm for the last couple of days. Steve, just FYI, it was interesting. I went out in a break in the rain yesterday and measured that ground current that I keep checking periodically, and it was off scale. My micro ammeter just has a 50 microamp top end on it, and it was off scale. So a lot of ground current yesterday. Let's see. Space weather, a little bit of geomagnetic instability today. But sunspot count is 80. Solar flux index is 122, and the K is 4.33. few items from this day in history. This day in 1735, President John Adams was born. On this day in 1995, voters in Quebec narrowly defeated a referendum to make that area sovereign from the rest of Canada. On this day in 1974, Muhammad Ali knocked out George Foreman in the rumble in the jungle, if any of you remember that. On this day in 1961, the Soviets detonated the largest nuclear weapon ever set off, producing the most powerful human-made explosion ever recorded. And this was on an island, or over an island in the Arctic. On this day in 1938, Orson Welles, a radio broadcast of War of the Worlds, caused panic nationwide. And that's enough from this day in history. It was not a heavy news day. So, buddy, here it comes. WB4ARK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK. Okay, Dave. Very good copy on everybody, even George. Well, I wouldn't say it was an excellent copy, but it was a good copy. I could make out everything you were saying over the sideband noise, but I decided to switch from 4kc to 2kc, and that cut out all of the sideband noise, so I don't have to deal with that anymore. Boy, what a mess that was. It was bad news this morning. I don't think I've had that much noise in quite some time. Well, like I said, it was 48 degrees here, and it's rather windy. I was looking outside, and the trees were really moving around quite proficiently up in the tops of the trees, and so I guess we still got some wind associated with this storm front. George, you were asking about a pot, an RF pot, RF gain pot. Is that a logarithmic pot, as most of the RF gain pots are? And if it's a 10K, I probably have one, and I can send it to you. They're not too cheap, but they're still available. So, yeah, everybody else is, like I said, is readable this morning, so that's a good thing. And I enjoy getting on early in the morning because the band conditions are usually pretty good, except today, which was quite noisy, a lot of QRN. But the band is very quiet this morning, so that's nice. So we'll turn it over to KN4R, WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy, very good. WB4ARK in the group, KN4R returning. Terrific on all. Dave, thanks for the space weather info and also this day in history. And okay on the 10K pot. You know, it was interesting. I was sitting in here just a minute or two before the net started, and the sidebanders fired right up there, and I'm thinking, oh, this isn't going to be good. But it looks like we've outlasted them now. The QRM here has gone way, way down. So, but I'm copying George okay, but it would be interesting to see if he could easily switch antennas and try another antenna with the Ranger 2. Nice transmitter, by the way. Never owned one. Like to have one of these days. So, anyway, let's see. What's new here? I finished up an article for for the Antique Wireless magazine last night, and going to start another one. But I'm going to fire up my. I've got a 1928 shortwave receiver here. I'm going to fire it up here in a bit and listen around today. So anyway, and I think the Classic Exchange is this weekend. I might put a rig or two on to try a few contacts with that. And Steve, pretty amazing on the 250 milliwatts, but and high power being 500 milliwatts. Sounds like fun. So anyway, over to you, George. K4GDN and the old friends. This is KN4R.
KN4R, the old friends, K4GDN. And it's not going to settle down. On the pin profile, I would assume it's logarithmic. That's what I'm saying. The unusual thing, though, is it needs to have at least a 1-inch long shaft to get from the chassis out through the front panel in the 145X. And that's what's kind of the holdup here. So it's got a 1-inch long shaft. That's really kind of the situation that's in there. And I am running the Ranger to a barefoot, putting out about 40 watts to the 9-band butternut. And when I'm using my homebrew A11 radio with the Harvey Elmac or the Ranger, I will load the exciter as lightly as I can, and then I've got a 6 dB attenuator. I always put about 67 watts in for my linear to get out about 145. This attenuator I've got is one that I built. The homebrew, I say it's 6 dB, and it seems to handle the power okay. I think everybody pretty well that last time. Like I say, the sideband doors went down. It's overcast here. I don't think we had any rain last night, but the ground is still very wet. And there was an interesting special on the Hurricane Horiz flooding at Asheville on Nova, I think it was last night, and they were talking about the flooding low pressure system that preceded it, and that was really what caused a lot of the damage, or caused the damage to occur when Horiz came through. We really rather interesting. Anyway, and I look forward to being at the Western Church. Everybody's got a good profile with a 1-inch shaft. Bring it Thursday. I sure appreciate it. So with that, Charlie, it's coming to you. W4MEC in the group.
Okay, George. K4GDN and the group, W4MEC. Well, I almost heard you that time. I had the BFO on and acted like a little bit of, what do you call that thing there, synchronous detection, and copied a little bit. And the turnover, so very good. So, yeah, I didn't realize it was 64 years ago that the Russians set off, was it Tsar Bomba or whatever, they designed to be 100 megatons, but I think they decided the yield was only 50. But the flash was seen in Britain, and seismographs around the world detected it, so it was a big one. So, glad nobody's used that one. I was actually reading about the current consensus of nukes, and they kind of played around with that because the guidance was so inaccurate. So now in today's world, with pinpoint accuracy, yields are in the 1 megaton or less range, or maybe a little more, but the 50, 100 megaton are not necessarily needed anymore. So, because they don't have to blow up an entire state, they can just blow up one city now. So, isn't that wonderful? So, anyway, I remember the maps in the Civil Defense Office where we had the RHAM Club meet every month, and they had the huge maps there that showed the nuclear destruction by rings, assuming that the thing hit right in the middle of town. They had a diagram there of destruction outwards, But that was all based on Hiroshima and Nagasaki level bombs at 11 kilotons, somewhere in there, of explosive. And perhaps a lot of people still consider that bomb based on those two devices dropped. And nobody ever thinks of it. They'll describe it in words, what happens with a 1 megaton bomb. And I remember back then on the flatland, it was out 1 megaton out 30 miles would bring fires. The levels of destruction from the epicenter out, but 30 miles out, houses and buildings and everything with trees, everything would be burning with 1 megaton. So that kind of said, oh boy, So I wonder what 50 would have done to an area. But anyway, it's curious about, did they look at things like in the mountains, like if they wanted to drop one on Asheville? Which could probably use it. That how much would the mountains deflect the blast and the heat up in the air, and how far out would it be considered safe? So I'm sure somebody sitting at their desk figured all that out. So just haven't told us yet. All right, N4 IYQ in the group, W4MEC.
Okay, Charlie, W4MEC and the group, N4 IYQ. And I need more coffee before I make statements. We're on the AS68, which is the finals of 2E26 versus the 6146, and driving the Alpha 87A amplifier at about 60 or 70 watts carrier. Got running it in the tune position rather than the operate position so as to not drive the Alpha so hard, and trying to spare them tubes. The fine business to ease on the attenuation and the options you've got on your AS68, and staying dry today. Hopefully you can, Dave. And too many irons in the fire, having busy booked evenings. And the War of the Worlds broadcast, that's always something to read about. Of course, too young to have experienced that. And buddy, narrowing down and getting rid of some of the sideband and calming down a little bit, certainly good. Brian, I know you'll enjoy playing inside and staying where it's warm. And George, I could hear some of you last go around over here in Tennessee, probably about 40 or 50%, and you would get stronger at times, and then you would fade out a little bit. And yes, Charlie, the destruction. I hope and pray we never have a nuclear war. It would be, just unfathomable what it could do. I always remember I had an uncle that worked for Piedmont Airlines, lived over in Tobaccoville, and he built a fallout shelter. And it'd been a number of years since I went by to visit them over there, and was working in the area, traveling, and got off the exit at Tobaccoville, went to a little store and asked, they tell me where he lived, and said, well, who are you? And I said, well, he's a great uncle. And they said, well, if he is, you ought to know where he lives. They wouldn't tell me. But I rode up and down the road a little bit, and I finally saw the little stack coming out of the ground where the fallout shelter was, and I knew I'd found the house. So there you go. N4LQ to pick it up and take it with the old friends net, N4IYQ.
All right, Chuck, N4IYQ, N4LQ. Well, that was interesting. And I've never tried a 2E26 in an Elmac. And two questions. Number one, did you make any component changes or just leave it as it is and use the existing amount of plate voltage and so forth? And then my other question is, why does it put out so much less power? All things being equal and no changes, where's all that extra power going? Just curious if maybe somebody can answer that one. And so you're left with 60 watts with a big alpha amplifier. Man, that thing could probably run 2 or 3 times that amount of power and loaf, I would think. But I understand the tubes are expensive. And I'm running right now, it's showing 250 watts carrier on this pair of 3-500s. And I think that's probably about enough. And I don't think I'd want to run it all day this way. I've got the fan on the Ameritrons is adjustable. It's got taps, and I could actually increase it and get a little more noise out of it, I guess. Brian, 1928 shortwave, I saw the picture of that thing. And yeah, if you get to wanting to test anything this weekend, be sure to give me a buzz or text me or something. I'd be glad to help. I enjoy doing that, and we can even make a recording or something of it. And buddy, I got a question for you. Did you get your new wire yet? And you've done something, because your signal is up a lot higher than it has been in the past. Last few times you've been on, it seems like your signal's been really much stronger here. You were hitting like 30 over or so. And let's see, did I write down what you were using to receive on? I forgot to note that. And you said you'd cut your bandwidth back, so maybe it's a 75A4, I don't know. You can fill us in on that one. Orson Welles. Yeah, of course I wasn't around in 1938 when that came on, but I can just imagine. I've listened to that. It's on YouTube. Everybody should listen to the War of the Worlds broadcast. And in 1938, attacked by Martians, and it was played as if it was a real thing on the radio, and it caused nationwide panic. As I understand, people were running every which way, trying to figure out where to hide from the Martians. Anyway, we've got plenty of time. Greg, okay? Dave, okay on your ground current. And for you guys that don't know, he's got a couple of metal stakes or ground rods out there with a wire between them, measuring the current between them. And Dave is a scientist, and he's trying to come to some conclusion, I think. I was wondering, is that meter, is it permanently installed in some kind of a rain-proof shelter, or do you just go out there and hook it up? So over to you, WA4LLR, N4LQ.
N4LQ, WA4LLR. No, I carry it out there every time. I've just got alligator clips on it that I clip to the connections. Yeah, I've got 2 ground rods spaced 100 feet apart with 50 feet of wire on each one, and I measure in the center like the feed point of a dipole. And it's amazing the variations in ground current from day to day and from hour to hour. The lowest I've seen it's about 10 microamps. The highest I've seen it is off scale on the 50 microamp meter. And it's just, I've been trying to correlate this with all kinds of things from, geomagnetic instability, high points of solar activity, CMEs, on and on. Conductivity in the soil, everything I can think of, and I cannot find a good correlation. When I first started doing this, I was thinking, I wonder if I'm picking up and rectifying RF from the local radio station. And I said, if this thing's acting like an antenna and picking that up, then I ought to be able to see a fluctuation on modulation peaks. So I took a receiver out there to where I could listen to the station and watch the microammeter, and there was no correlation there. And I said, if it's working like an antenna, if I take it loose from the ground rods, then the signal ought to still be there. So I took it loose from the ground rods and just had 100 feet of wire there, and the signal was the current was completely gone. So it's been fascinating. And the other thing that's fascinating is the instantaneous variations in it. I can sit there and watch it over a period of time, and all of a sudden it jumps. It will jump from, say, 20 to 30 or 40 microamps just instantaneously, and then right back down. And sometimes there's a gradual increase, and sometimes it's the most irritating thing I've ever started fooling with, but it's fascinating at the same time. And I wish I had I'd love to have a chart recorder and record it over a 24-hour period and see what kind of cycle, that you could come up with. And I know I could come up with an analog to digital converter and run a software program and do some charting that way, but I'd love to have an old-fashioned chart recorder to try it. Anyway, enough babbling about that. Brian, I'm curious as well, who made the 1920, I think you said 28 shortwave receiver. I'm curious who did that one. And that's about all I have here. So down to you, buddy. Boy, that 4400 rig is it's a rock crusher. WB4ARK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK. Okay, George. I mean, Dave. Thinking about George. Well, first of all, Steve, the 4400, haven't had it on in a while, and it's modulated by a pair of 4 125s, and it puts out it's running about 375 watts to the antenna legal limit. And so that's continuous current. It's modulated by a pair of 4 125s, so it's continuous modulation, and I've got a modulation transformer from a T368 transmitter, and its filter choke that came out of a T368. It's pretty big. It won't fit in the power supply itself, so I have to mount it outside. And the wire, I commented about the wire when it came in several days ago, about a week now, and I put it up the same day I got it, and it's totally insulated except at the insulator. You use a Johnson insulator about an inch in diameter by about 8 inches long, and so it's really nice. That covering makes it ideal, and it cut back on the SWR slightly. I had to change the transmatch a little bit, but that could have been the weather. It was a little bit wet outside. So anyway, that's the situation on the transmitter. That's why you're seeing a larger signal level on your your S meter, and I'm using an R390A. I typically use that. I have an ARR15 R105 receiver, but it doesn't have an S meter. It goes with the ART13. Let's see, what else? George, I don't have a 10K pot with a 1-inch long shaft. Mine are like 5/8 of an inch long, or whatever the standard is. And so that's the story there. Sorry about that. And Dave, that measurement of the ground current, I'm sure that it increases significantly when the ground is wet. So I've read some reports where tests have been done on ground currents, and it's an interesting observation that you're doing, and I'm not surprised that you have the variations that you see, and it could be coming from the natural electrification of the earth, and that type of thing too is going to play some a small part in it. So with that, over to Brian, KN4R, WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy. WB4ARK in the group, KN4R. Well, buddy, I think you win the K4EK award for the best static elimination on the band. Your transmitter sounds really, really good here. So, and Chuck, terrific on everything, and I hope you have a great time down there at Lawrenceville. And say hello to John K1BBC and also Mr. KZ4B down there with me. Hope you have a good time. Feel free to send pictures to all of us. And I just want to let you know the sun is coming through here. It's going to be a gorgeous day. I've got a maple tree right in front of me that's in my neighbor's yard actually, and it's just beautiful at the moment. So, and George, there's a fella in Michigan. He's known as the pot guy, the potentiometer guy. He can either rebuild or replace, and he's been in that business for like 25 or 30 years. I'm gonna look up his contact info. It's probably in my phone, and I'll send you an email about it. But if you can't find one somewhere else, I would definitely check with this fella. And Dave, the receiver is an RCA AR 1496, which a couple of articles I've read says it's the first modern shortwave receiver. And they say that because it had a 22 in as the RS stage. It's a screen grid tube, and one of the first sets to have that. And also it's very, very well shielded. It's only a 4-tube set, and 2 of those are audio, and so it's just a RF stage and a regenerative detector basically, but it's a pretty hot little receiver, and all the commercial sites used them like in 1928, 29, 30, and there's also an earlier set that I think did not have the screen grid tube, but is probably very similar, and that's called an AR 1492, and I've only seen one reference out there on the web about that, and no picture. So that's one of the things I'm chasing now. So anyway, but I'll send out a picture, maybe a little short video a little later. So anyway, I'm losing my voice here. I need more coffee. Let's see. Back to George. K4GDN in the group. KN4R.
KN4R in the group. K4GDN. And on the pot, buddy, I might be able to use that. I just took the knob off of that, off the 145X, and I do have room to put something in there for an extension. I might have to change the knob, and that might be the easy way out. But I would like to try one. And like I said, if anybody's got a 10K with even a 5/8 inch shaft, standard shaft, I appreciate you bringing it to the lunch next Thursday. I plan to be there. And the sideband has definitely gone downhill. I think everybody pretty well now. And looking forward to seeing everybody next Thursday. I'm going to say 73 on this one, but I'm going to listen all the way to the end. So it's coming to you, Charlie. ABC in the group, K4GDN.
Okay, George, K4GDN, the old friends, W4MEC. Q5 that time, George, so signal's coming up, or maybe you did something. Good copy. Yeah, I've run into the short pot shaft issue before and no room to put a coupler in. And I've actually drilled the end of the shaft and drilled it and tapped it, and then took another piece of shaft, quarter-inch rod, and drilled right through the center of that, and put a machine screw through it, and thread locker, Loctite, and the whole thing, screw it together, let it dry, and it works forever that way. You just got to be sure that the two surfaces are as flat and perpendicular as you can get them, or you end up with a little bit of a lean there, and as you turn the knob, it'll wobble and hopefully not touch the cabinet there if it wobbles too much. But I've done that to extend the knobs, and it works pretty good. If you're patient with the drill and don't drill you a pilot hole and just take your time getting up to the right diameter for the threads, and it works. Anyway, let's see. The wife didn't get up in time early. It's her normal early time today. But at 8 o'clock she headed out to go swimming. So now we got the car back. I don't have to wake up at the crack of dawn and take her down there. So now I'm missing checking in on the over the hill getting net, and I don't know, maybe I'll get back in the cycle here, waking up properly and not sleeping in. So that was the deal with old Jim, K4DEE. When we had the net at 9 o'clock, he very seldom made the Tuesday net, and when it went to 8 for sure, but he was always sleeping in. He said, I don't get up until 9 or so, and I don't get functioning until 10. So he would always miss Tuesdays and Thursdays many times. So anywho, let's see, what else comment there about the current, ground current there. There was an interesting video. I think I sent it off to the old friends group, and it was two radio towers, and a pretty good distance apart. I can't remember, it was around a mile, and one was on the air and one was just derelict, and the fellow had got out there, and it still had it wasn't hooked to anything, and it still had the lightning ball static discharger in place, but it wasn't quite enough, so he took a big old screwdriver and he went from ground, and he moved that screwdriver tip towards that antenna, and I think he was like 1.5 inches away, and it just started arcing over. And as the modulation on the other tower was going up and down, that arc from the screwdriver to the tower, you could almost hear I think you could hear the voice in the arc. So that was a mile separation there. So, and I thought that was interesting. And Tom over there, FJQ, he's got to have a broadcast band filter in his setup there, because that station is only 400 feet from his house. And if I remember right, it's 10 kilowatts FM, and I forget how many kilowatts of AM. And but thankfully he says it goes off the air at night, so the FM stays on, the AM goes off the air. And he has to deal with that. He hadn't talked about arcing, but I bet you he could probably draw an arc with that station if he tried. So anyway, N4IYQ, W4MEC.
Okay, Charlie, W4MEC and the group N4IYQ, very interesting. And Tom having to deal with the next door. Steve, I'll send you the diagram. Of course, Cliff did the modification. I've still got the 6146 actually laying over here in a in a drawer, but it's easy to put back. But I'll scan it and email it to you. And Dave, maybe Santa Claus will bring you a chart recorder and you can get it hooked up and see how the voltage and amperage is running up and down. And buddy, glad you got your new antenna up, and very interesting, Brian, about the first modern shortwave receiver. And George could hear a little bit more of you the lights go around. Charlie, glad you don't have to wake up so early. And to add on a little bit to locating the ventilation shaft coming out of the fallout shelter at that uncle's, when I got there, there was no one. There was a car in the driveway and nobody there. And like I say, I was traveling in the area, and I thought, well, I'll swing by and see my great aunt that he had passed, and my cousin. And the front door was open except for a screen door, and I hollered, and a few times, "Ain't Ruby? Are you here? Belinda? Anybody here?" And couldn't get any reaction. I thought, well, they probably run to the store for a minute, so they had a big old swing like people would have on a porch. And I just made myself at home and sat out there on that swing. It was a beautiful evening. It was after work. And I stayed about 45 minutes, actually, and enjoyed the swing and the light breeze. And before I left, I thought, well, I'm going to write a note. So I wrote a note and said, sorry I missed you all. I was in the area, wanted to come by and see you, and I stuck it in the gap between the old wooden screen door and the door frame, and said I'll try to stop by and see you another time when I'm in the area. And I got home and I mentioned to my brother that I'd gone by to see Aunt Ruby and my cousin Belinda, and he said, well, they sold that house and moved about 5 years ago, so I'm glad the other people didn't come home. Might have been an issue. N4LQ to pick it up and take it. N4IYQ.
Yeah. A new person on the porch out there. N4IYQ is N4LQ. Anybody else want to join before we give up for the day? All right, this is N4LQ. I tell you what, this has really been entertaining this morning, and Chuck, thanks a lot for the offer to send that schematic on how to modify. We're usually modifying things for more power, but less power sometimes is the way to go if you're driving an amplifier. But I can now in one of my conversions here on an AF68, I just increased the value of the plate screen resistor that drops the voltage from the power supply, and I just put a higher value resistor in there and cut the plate voltage back. It cuts the plate and the screen back. And that worked beautifully. It cut it way back, and it was an adjustable resistor with a slider on it, and I just set it for what I wanted, and that worked fine using the same tube. So I really don't think there's any real reason to change tubes, but that is interesting, and I'm anxious to see what you got. Now, buddy, I tell you what, that new wire has done a job on your signal, and I think is that the flex weave? I guess that's what they call it. It's like 40 strands of real fine wire, and it's got, I guess it's polyethylene insulation or something, real slick. That is nice stuff. And but I think what really did the job was those Johnson insulators. Now, 8-inch Johnson insulators, I've had some of those things. I never did use them. They are so heavy. But I think they're slick. I don't think there's any of those corrugations or ruffles or whatever the insulators often have in them, just a straight insulator. Well, you know, you used to read, if you go to the old antenna manuals and instruction books for transmitters, they would make a really big deal out of what insulators to use on the end of your antenna. And you don't see much of that anymore. Now they're just using these little, Budwig, and that's one of them, just a real short little insulator. And I don't know, the voltage is very high in the thousands sometimes on the end of a dipole, half-wave dipole, and the electric field is strongest out there, and you can find that out with a field strength meter, and get out toward the end, that voltage gets high, and it doesn't take a whole lot to snuff it down. Like if it goes through a tree or something, if the end of the antenna is near a damp tree limb or something, it actually absorbs a pretty good amount of that electric field and can really do a job on your signal. So anyway, congratulations on the new antenna, and I assume you're feeding it with ladder line. I'm not sure, either that or coax. You might comment on that. And Brian, real fine on your RCA shortwave set. Yeah, that's pretty cool, and I really want to see a video of that. So, all right, well, we'll make this the 73 round then, and turn it over to Dave. WA4LLR, N4LQ.
Fine business. Well, great all the way around. Chuck, that's quite an interesting story. I'm glad nobody came out with a double barrel. Who's this weirdo on the front porch swing? Let's see. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the video on that RCA as well. Gentlemen, I'm going to thank everybody for participating today. Steve, thanks for calling the net. Everybody have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you Sunday afternoon, Lord willing, on a different time. Our clocks will say the same time, but our bodies will say it's not. 7-3, God bless. We'll talk to you later, Lord willing. WB4ARK, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, WB4ARK, okay. Dave, very good copy on everybody. And Steve, that is the flex weave, and does have the polyethylene on the outside. It's black, and it's up at a pretty high altitude, and it does go into the leaves, branches on the trees, and I have noticed some burn back, especially when I'm using high power like right now. So I'm sure there's probably smoke coming off of that tree. I can't see it from here. It's 180 degrees from where I'm sitting, and the house blocks the view. So I'll go out and take a look as soon as I finish transmitting and see what it looks like out there. The insulator, is quite long. Like I said, it's at least 8 inches long and has holes in the end for your tie points. And I've always used that type of insulator for the center when I wasn't using a coupling device. But no, I use coax to feed the antenna, and so that end of the antenna is hot, and that's why I put that wire on that end only. So that's the deal there. And let's see what else we have. Yes, those receivers, Brian, that's very nice that you have those. It'd be interesting to see a photo. Maybe you could put one on the Old Friends Reflector group, so I could take a look at that receiver and see what it looks like. I will say 73 to everyone, and thanks for calling the net, Steve. It's been a very good morning, so hopefully the new time will present some good conversations without noise. And I see my frequency has dropped about 300 hertz, so we'll have to crank my 310B up just slightly. Okay, over to Brian, KN4R, WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy, WB4ARK in the group, KN4R. Well, buddy, I must also second your signal report. You're just booming in here, so congratulations on the new antenna. Maybe we all need a new antenna from time to time, so but congratulations. And Dave, in case you're listening, I wish William Culpepper, W4BZ, was still alive. He loved to talk about ground connectivity. And I'm pretty sure he showed me one time maps of ground connectivity, and I don't know how they put those maps together, but anyway, I'll Google around a little bit, and but that's a very interesting observation you have going there, and I certainly hope someone finds you a strip chart recorder, maybe one down at Lawrenceville, and brings it home to you. So I'll say 73s. Everybody have a great day. Enjoy the weather, inside or out. K4GDN in the group, KN4R 73s.
Okay, yeah, I'm still here. Steve, thanks for calling the net. And yeah, so coming to you. Oh,
Okay, George, K4GDN in the group, W4MEC. Well, I don't know. This will be, next week, this will be 8 o'clock. And we'll see how the band does then. But reducing power, we had these transmitters. They were hybrid. TV9, TV36s, the VHF, UHF aircraft band transmitters. They ran 50 watts out. They were hybrid, and they had a 4X150 or 4-150. I can't remember which one. 4-150 in the final. And if you tried to tune them down to the new spec power, which was 10 watts, the modulation would just kind of make the radio sound like crap. So we had big rolls of RG something high loss cable. It was just a odd impedance cable. It wasn't 75 ohms. It might have been 62, might have been 93. We would have a 100-foot coil of that in each cabinet, and there was 2 transmitters in a cabinet, so 2 coil of that to run the transmitter through and to the antenna, so to get the power down. And the situation was changing as the aircraft radios got better and more sensitive, plus overlapping of signals. You know, somebody in one town 25 miles away would be interfering with another town's aviation frequency on or near the same frequency. That was the other thing. They were running out of frequency assignments, so they rolled all the powers back to 10 watts or thereabouts, and with those tube gears, and then they threw those out and started buying ITT Air Force equipment, GRT 21s, or is it 22 and 24s? Odd numbers. Anyway, they were all 10 watts. So, so much for the dropping loop there, length of cable. But anyway, just a different way to do it. Back then they didn't use attenuators or nothing, just a big old chunk of cable. So we'll see you fellas on what day? Sunday. And maybe catch up with you on 1864 here if I'm home. So thanks, good to hear you all today. And yeah, Chuck, lucky that maybe those people heard you calling your relatives' names and they didn't know who you were, so they kind of cowered in the back of the house and waited for you to leave. So glad you didn't call the law. 730 all N4IQ in the group, N4IYQ in the group, W4MEC.
Okay, Charlie, W4MEC in the group, N4IYQ. You know, the screen door was unlatched, but I wasn't wild enough to stroll on in. Probably done a good thing. But yeah, when my brother told me they'd sold that house 5 years earlier, I thought, boy, I'm glad those people didn't come home. Their neighbors probably told them some guy was hanging out on their porch. But enjoyed it, guys. We cut our schedule, our part-time schedule that we piddle around with, back, and we no longer work. Now we have 3 Saturdays and 1 Sunday, so we're off on Thursdays. Hope we can get in here, and I always try to do the Sundays if not something else going on. If you enjoyed it, thanks, Steve, for calling the net, and we appreciate you and Dave and anyone that pitches in. And we'll talk to y'all after getting back from Lawrenceville. Back to net control for one last one. N4LQ, N4IYQ. Good morning.
Okay, there's somebody making a racket. A few KCs up there. I'm not sure what that's all about. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody joining us this morning and taking the time to do that. And it's been an interesting and entertaining net today. So we'll say 73s and see you tonight at 8 o'clock on 160 if you can make it. And if not, then it'll be Sunday here on 3715 at 5 p.m. 73s. This is N4LQ closing the Old Friends Net.
Steve, check your email. You ought to have that scan, N4IYQ.
Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it.